Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited to finally have Sarah here with us today. We've been working on getting together for a little bit, so welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Jenny.
So, if you would, I would love for the group to get to know you a little bit, hear a bit about your story and journey before we dive into the juicy stuff. Um, how did you
Oh,
come?
it's all juicy, Jenny.
I like that. I like that a lot. So how did you come about doing what you're doing? How did this all come about?
Um, so first, would you like to tell me would you like me to share what it is that I do and then how I got to doing
Sure.
this?
Any way you'd like. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I work with women, professional women, entrepreneurs. I work with men too, but my focus is working with women in financial planning and looking at very creative outside the box ways to create tax-free passive income, whether it's for retirement planning, estate planning, charitable giving, creating endowments, very broad spectrum financial planning aspects. I work with attorneys and I work as an independent broker with different companies. That way I can keep my clients' best interests in mind and work with whoever is suitable for their needs. It gives me a lot of flexibility and freedom, which I love. And, um, I think that it's important to have, I value flexibility and freedom in the products and the services that I provide have that for women because we change a lot and circumstances in our life change. Um, and we have the right to change our mind as women. And so also understanding the unique needs of women and what makes us unique when it comes to our money. I started this brand or, this way of going about this business to move away from the traditional masculine posturing, the blues and grays of the financial planning, even women in traditional, like, Edward Jones and New York Life, some of those companies, which I had the opportunity to work with and really took a risk to branch off on my own so that I could provide this type of service, and follow a vision that I had. So, yes.
Well, what got you interested in being in that field to start with?
You know, it's very, I never saw myself going into this when I thought I was, when I pictured my life. My background is very rebellious. I was very creative and rebellious, and I did all sorts of different alternative things to make money, from photography to bartending to modeling in my younger years. And my life weaved through that. But I got into actually health and wellness, and then I started going to school in pre-med. My first experience in school was business. Then it was photography. Then I was into science, and I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to challenge mainstream medical systems and have the authority to stand on, and write books and speak and teach more and practice more alternative medicine. Um, and then you know, as a woman, life changes when we have children, and my family just kind of blossomed when I met and fell in love with a man. And at the time, I was a single mom, and he had children from his previous marriage. And so when we merged, and then I shortly after became pregnant, the family just grew exponentially. And that changed the possibility of, or even the desire of wanting to go through medical school. Um, and for a while, I said, well, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'll figure it out. And I took my 2 years to nurse my baby and, just kind of reevaluate everything. And I started learning about digital marketing and funnels. And I was like, I really love this. I want to do something with this. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I started with a health and wellness company product and started kind of promoting that, but it didn't really manifest that fast. And, when we start a business, we have to have realistic expectations that it takes, I would say, 3 years of being committed to developing your expertise and building your business before you actually start to see fruit. Um, but something that was always in my background was learning about legacy planning through trusts. How can I set up something for my children, for my grandchildren? that would live beyond myself. And that was a desire that was always hidden in my heart. And many years ago, I remember meeting, well, not meeting, a friend of mine in Hawaii. His grandmother, I never got a chance to meet her. She had set up the family that way. She was a very smart woman and had set up trust and had set up charities, and he was managing the fund for the family's trust. And I said, I want to be like her. I want to figure this out. And so when I was introduced to financial services, um, it just somehow everything clicked. The visions I had had for my family and for my own life, and then learning the systems and the, like, I call them the hacks. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the bridge that I've been looking for because I could see where I wanted to go, but from where I was standing, there was this huge gap. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get there? And then when I started learning about this stuff, and especially the tax loopholes, I was, because, the rebel in me is like, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to tip the government, right? I mean, of course, we all have to pay taxes to some degree, but this was just kind of like the thing. This was the vehicle. This was it for me. And I dived in and I never looked back.
I love that story. And I love that you're a person that you had a vision. Sometimes, we get so caught up in the day to day that we don't step back to think about what legacy do we want to leave? What's the big picture? What's the long game? We think
Absolutely. I believe that's one of my special gifts is the big picture vision and the long game, the ability to see long distance. I think a lot of us are very distracted and focused on instant gratification and instant results. And so I'm able to really look at the big picture when I look at my clients' whole portfolio. And as I mentioned to you, Jenny, that I meet with a lot of people who have a lot of different pieces of their finances, but they're kind of scattered and they're not really working together cohesively for their big picture, for their long-term vision. And so I work with you to identify what is that exactly, and what are your core values, and then bringing all that together.
I think that's so beautiful. And we were talking earlier before we came on. I would love for you to share about this workshop that you're doing tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, so the workshop tomorrow is an abundance workshop in honor of the Chinese New Year. Last year, I had a business coach who is from Hong Kong, and he was sharing with us about the Chinese New Year and the culture in China and how openly they talk about money and celebrate money and wealth. And their greeting it actually translates to "May you be rich." And the concept of wealth and prosperity is something that is celebrated. And so I wanted to do this workshop. It's really a passion project. It's kind of my reemergence from having my winter reclusive time that I set aside because I like to align myself with the seasons. And it's very different in America where we don't speak as openly about money. And I compare the culture in China. They are known to be some of the biggest spenders, but also saving money is an honorable practice that they teach from a young age. And so we look at culture and money. This is what we're going to cover. We're also going to look at what are the qualities of abundance and wealth and success. And some people will say, well, abundance is a mindset, it's a state of being, and that's very true. Having gratitude, giving and receiving, trusting in a provision, right? Leaning towards source for all things. However, how do we bridge the gap again from that existential, eternal feeling of abundance to manifestation in our outward physical form of abundance? And that is expressed through generosity and giving, simplicity and minimalism, and then stewardship, which, if there is this source of abundance where there's enough for everybody, why do we have shortages? Why do we have lack? It's because of mismanagement of resources. And so we kind of look at that in our own life. We do the big picture planning, setting goals, and just cover all those different aspects of abundance.
I absolutely love that too, because I have this belief and this philosophy that lack is a man-made concept, and it doesn't exist in the universe, it doesn't exist in nature, but it's
Mhm.
culturally perpetuated somehow that there are the haves and the have-nots. And that's just a belief, a story. So I love that you're taking this holistic approach to abundance and taking in all aspects of it and helping us have a shift in our mindset and step out of fear and into empowerment and empowering ourselves.
Absolutely. Yep, we have to step into empowerment, and I believe in self-responsibility and self-reliance because when you talk about the man-made concept of shortages, we could get into politics, greed, and the mismanagement of resources on big scale. But when we have to focus on what we are in control of in our own life, you know.
And that's beautiful. So tell us how, is there a cost for this workshop and how can we connect with you
Oh,
on this workshop?
so the workshop is free. Like I said, it's a passion project. It's not a sales pitch. It's definitely bringing an energy of sitting in circle together as women and exploring this concept of abundance and going deep with it. I also have a guest speaker who will be doing an activation visualization at the end, and she's presenting three different options, which we'll vote about. We'll vote inside the workshop. I do have a link here I can share. Is there a chat? I can put it here to
Well,
register.
I'll put it above this interview when we're done, and we'll also put it down in comments.
Okay, excellent. So you just register. There's a workbook that goes along with it. You could print it, or you could just take notes and be present. And then, the workbook, it's 20 pages. So it's something that you could actually sit with and use as a guide to get clarity and take some action steps and spend some time with it. You may not get it all done during the workshop. And that's the other thing we're going to look at is how do we actually take action? Because people will say, I have these goals that scare me. I've set myself these really big goals. And, we talk about New Year's resolutions versus New Year's intentions. And that's great and all, but good intentions didn't really get anybody anywhere. You have to actually do the work. You have to create committed action. So set the big scary goals and then take big scary action and make a commitment to follow through, right? So that's where I really encourage people to bring the two together. It's all about bridging everything together. And as you mentioned with the holistic aspect, I think that's another feminine element that I bring to financial planning with women is how health and happiness, fulfillment is tied together with our finances.
And I think there's this new climate. I think a lot of us have been solopreneurs. I know I've been real guilty of it. And I'm really, after creating this group over a year ago, collaboration and community and a
Mhm.
sisterhood of supporting
Yes.
each other in our visions and helping us get over those scary parts and that we're there and celebrating the wins. I think it's very powerful. We can do so much more together than we can alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, right now we're in something called the Great Wealth Transfer, and there's supposed to be, I think it's $3 trillion moving into the hands of women by 2030. And women tend to look at companies and investments that align with their values, the type of social impact that they want to create, the changes we want to see in the world. So I'm really excited for this right now and helping to be a part of that as far as working with women who are coming into wealth either through inheritances or becoming the breadwinners in their family. And, like you said, when we work together in community, we can actually create change versus feeling like we're all alone and it's so much bigger than us. Um, and, a lot of women are looking for ways to create a better future for their children and grandchildren. And so, starts with us, but then how do we make it bigger than us? Again, whether through investing in companies that align with our values, creating more sovereignty so that we can create something that is a legacy that we pass down to our children and grandchildren.
And the other thing I like about it too is that shift of mindset that, we can live our values, if you're in the midst of raising children and creating that time and space for them, but also being able to create wealth. They're not exclusive, you know.
Absolutely. Yes. That's actually something I just put down in my notes this morning for the workshop is balance, right? Not being hyper focused in one area of life, but being deliberate and focused on long-term goals and consistency, but allowing space for other areas in life to bring fulfillment. So abundance through balance.
I love that. I am super excited about this. I am excited that you're in our group and that we get to learn more about you. And we'll be doing something in our group later if this timing doesn't work out for you for tomorrow. Um, we're in discussion right now about something that she can do within our group too to help us because this is, to me, it's a really important topic and it's, and get rid of the taboo around it. And let's, like they do in China, let's talk about it openly. And
And celebrate it.
exactly, exactly. So before we go today, is there any other parting words of wisdoms or thoughts or ideas that you would love to share with us today?
Well, as we set the date for the workshop that we'll do in the group, if anyone has listened to this interview, we would love it if you put in the comments what you would like the workshop to talk about. Is it legacy planning? Is it tax-free retirement? Is it how to do charitable giving with more impact? How to create an endowment in your family name? How to create working capital, about leveraging your money so that you have access and liquidity with flexibility and control. I tend to work with traditional and newer vehicles, but in very outside the box ways of creating solutions. And so, versus traditional vehicles that are government regulated, like CDs, 401ks, 529 savings plans, but working with private contracts and private assets that you have complete autonomy, privacy, and control over. But how you would like that to, how would you like to learn about that being leveraged or used in application?
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about that because this is, you don't know what you don't know. So I'm very
Yeah.
excited about all this. Well,
Thank you.
Sarah, it's been wonderful to have you here with us today, and I'm looking forward to your workshop and the one that we're going to do in the future. And just to let everybody know, I'm going to put above this interview and in the comments the link to her workshop tomorrow, and also a link on if you want to talk with Sarah, if you want to connect with her and learn more about her services and her one-on-one practice that she does with individuals. We'll be sure to give you that contact information. So
Wonderful.
thank
And
you
that
so
is
much.
free. The consultations, they are free to
Oh,
meet with me.
perfect.
So you don't have to worry about that.
All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Jenny, for
again.
this opportunity.